And tell our families, we're going to Africa. They say, what? Be safe. So they start crying. They literally, when I told my family, my mom and dad, I was going to Africa, and I was leaving and trying to resettle Africa, they started crying like I was.
Sibonga Ticktes. Umveli nqangi usonile inanini. uNkulunkulu. Umdali ozulu nomhlaba. Siyakubonga, sibonga impilo. We appreciate you. Welcome to the Hustlers Corner. Thank you so much, guys, for giving yourselves some time to sit down and enjoy this episode. I'm looking forward to this one. We'll learn a lot from all sorts of different people. We've just done a very incredible educational episode that has been trending all over the world on Good Friday. That's 2 weeks ago with the great Bishop Joshua Maponga. Thank you, sir. We appreciate you. Here's another episode that I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to learning. I'm looking forward to getting to know our current guest. And ladies and gentlemen, he is a filmmaker, he's a producer, a director, and he's gracing us with his presence, and we appreciate his time to come here. Let me just tell you a little bit about what he does. He's also an author, he's a professional, he's ventured into all sorts of different things in terms of doing educational content. As you guys do know, we are an educational platform as well. We love people that come here to educate us. Ladies and gents, welcome Mr. RONALD Dalton Jr. I'm sure a lot of people call you Ron.
Yes, they call me Ron.
How are you doing, sir?
Good, nice to meet you.
Lovely to meet you. Thank you very much for giving us your time and coming to sit down with us. For me, I think the first thing I'd like to start with is, who is Mr. RONALD Dalton Jr.? And what brings you to Mzansi?
Well, first and foremost, I'm a father of 8 kids. 8 kids. 7 are here and 1 is back in the States. I had a career before the movies and the books as a physician assistant in America. So I worked in the healthcare industry for 18 years and had an awakening, which led me onto a path to Hebrews to Negroes. But in America, I've been doing this since 2014, 15. And as we will probably talk about, the movies and the books have gained a lot of attention, a lot of talk, a lot of discussion, a lot of backlash in America. And, you know, the last 2 or 3 years, I always envisioned bringing this information to Africa, the Caribbean and Africa, because Africa is such a huge part of our history, connecting the diaspora back to the ancient Israelites. You have to go through Africa. You have to research the people in Africa to make the connection. So one of the reasons why I'm here is to not only to leave Babylon, America, but to also bring the truth to Africa. And you know, I'm doing it next month in May, and I'm excited. And I hope that this premiere sparks other countries to start to awaken to the identity of who we are.
That's incredible. Has the consciousness always been there since you were young? What inspired this type of thinking in your youth? Or is anything in your youth, any events that might have happened that have led you this path?
No, I mean, growing up, my dad's a pastor, apostolic Pentecostal. So, you know, growing up, we didn't really know who we were, other than the fact that we're taught, in Black History Month, that we are the descendants of slaves. African Americans, every February, we're getting taught about Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Harriet Tubman, Sojourner Truth, the Black Panther Party, different things of that nature. So in the church and in the schools, we're really not told anything about who we really are. We don't have a true culture, an identity. We call the food we eat soul food, but at the end of the day, this is not the food that our ancestors ate in Africa. And when you go to church, the pastor tells you that you're a Gentile, or he might say that Black people are under the curse of Canaan or Ham, and and then sometimes they might link us to the ancient Egyptians, because they see the Black people see ancient Egypt as the height of civilization. The only thing that Black people can be proud of in Africa is the ancient Egyptian pharaohs. So a lot of times in the Black community, and even in the Christian church, we want to connect ourselves to the ancient pharaohs of Egypt. So then we start believing that we're Egyptians because we see Egyptian, King Tut, his head bust, and we see things of Egyptian ornaments in our house. And so, this is what most African Americans, including myself, believed in. And it's not until you actually do some research, or the Most High reveals these things to you, that you start to uncovering your history and connection to the Bantu people in sub-Saharan Africa. And then when you do that, and you have a knowledge base of the Bible, then you start to see, well, wait a minute, a lot of the Hebraic customs that are seen in the Torah are actually seen in Bantu traditions and customs. And, I just happen to be a researcher, and I love to study the cultures of the Bantu people or the Niger Congo speaking people. And this is really when, back in 2011, when I started to ask questions and challenge the pastors, and Christians in the Black community, that hey, we've been tricked, we've been told lies, so who's telling us these lies? We have white lies and we have Black truth, but a lot of times in the Black community, we're not being told any Black truth. We're just being told the lies that a lot of times our colonizers and our former slave masters and the people that run the education system and the religious system that are teaching us. So, for me, I broke past that, so I don't have a covering over my eyes, so this is the reason why, Hebrews to Negroes is such an uplifting and inspiring and edifying moment for Black people in all walks of life that get a hold of the books and the movies.
It's brilliant, because a lot of people are starting to wake up that actually we have been made to focus on here in South Africa. Jan van Riebeck, in our history, they say he landed here in the Cape in 1652. And mentally, and they start that type of education from when we're young, that we start focusing, or subconsciously we start thinking our history actually starts from there. Mm-hmm. And there's a history way before that. Mm-hmm. And as people will talk about slavery, people will talk about some of the brothers and sisters that were shipped to, the Americas, mm-hmm. from this continent at a certain time. Mm-hmm. You've gone down the rabbit hole through your research that actually we've got a history before this time. Mm-hmm. Were there Black people in America before Christopher Columbus arrived there?
Well, the thing is, there is a topic in a talk that Black people existed in the Americas before Columbus got there. And one of the things I like to say is that this is a big thing in America. Now a lot of Black Americans are saying that they are indigenous to America, that this is their land, that they are not connected to Africa in any way, that people in Africa, they're not us, we're different people. And I say, okay, well, do your DNA test. Do your DNA test. And people say, well, I got to do a DNA test. Well, if you do your DNA test and you see on the father side, your DNA Y haplogroup, Y DNA haplogroup, which is a thing that's passed down from every father to son. So as a man, you have an X and a Y chromosome. And as a woman, you have an X and an X chromosome. So only a man can pass down the Y6 chromosome to his sons. The most common Y chromosome haplogroup that the Bantu Niger-Congo speaking people have is E1B1A. And anybody can look this up. If you look at any black person in America that claims to be indigenous to the Americas, you're going to see that when he does his DNA test, it's going to be E1B1A. All you got to do is ask them, hey, well, where are the majority of the people in the world that have E1B1A? And they're going to say Africa, amongst the Bantu Niger-Congo speaking people. So then you have to ask yourself, well, we know that zebras are indigenous to Africa. If we see zebras in America at the zoos, we can't say that they're indigenous and they've always been there. We can say that they originated in Africa and somehow they are transported or they got there. Obviously the zebras didn't swim and they didn't fly. So we have to be clear that when we look at our history, we can't say because the white man came to America and he called the people on the land that they were copper colored or they were brown skinned, or he associated any person with brown skin to a so-called Negro. Because back in ancient times in America, a lot of people don't see these things on Getty Images, on Alamy. These are copyright sites where you can get footage and photos. A lot of the indigenous Native American Indians, they had dark skin tones, but they were not Negro. They were not Bantu. They were not Niger-Congo speaking people. Their hair texture was different. Their phenotype of their face, their cheekbones, their lips, the way that their cranial is situated, their eyes, it's all different, but they had melanin in their skin. And a lot of times people get confused with that, and they just lump everybody into being all these are black people that existed in the Americas. One of the things that we have to understand, if you're saying that black people existed in North America, Central America, South America prior to Columbus, and they've been there for thousands of years, then just picture millions of black people, Negroes, in the Americas. All of a sudden now, how are we 15% of North America, and a small percent in Central America, and an even smaller percent in South America? Did the Europeans come and massacre all the blacks that were in that country? The answer is no, because in the east part of the Americas, slavery existed. So if on the east part and the south of America, slavery existed, we know that the profit of slaves really depended on how many slaves you had, and if your slaves would have more children that were born to slavery, so you can put more people on the work in the fields. But then what about all those other countries, not countries but states, in the Americas that weren't hit by slavery? They didn't have plantations going to the west. Where'd all those black people go? Those black people that were in these other areas, did the white man just come in and eradicate all of them? Did he enslave them? No, he did not. So we have to look at the numbers, the statistics. We have to look at the fact that black people that say they're indigenous, do you speak the indigenous languages of the so-called Indians? Where's your culture? Where's your tradition? Just because you ran away from the plantation and you came upon a Native American Indian village and they took you in, and you may have had some kids with some of the women, and you now identify yourself as a Cherokee or a Chickasaw or a Choctaw or a Blackfoot or whatever, at the end of the day, when we do the DNA of Latinos or indigenous Indians in Mexico, and we do the DNA of black people in the Americas, our DNA on the mother side and father side is always going to connect us back to sub-Saharan Africa with the Niger-Congo Bantu-speaking people. And we know that black people don't have wings and black people don't have gills like Aquaman. So how did they get to the Americas? And we know through history that the slave trades brought us to the Americas.
The slave trade. There's a movement right now called the Foundational Black Americans. What is the meaning of Foundational Black Americans, and what can be your message to the community?
Well, the FBA and the ADOS, they are more concerned with the issues of America and reparations. They don't want to hear anything about going back to Africa, repatriation, reconnecting with our roots in Africa. This is not the talk in the ADOS FBA rooms on YouTube Facebook, Clubhouse. In fact, if you come into their rooms talking this back to Africa, we're all the same people. You guys are descendants of people in Nigeria, Cameroon, Congo, Angola, Gabon, Ghana, Togo. They don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear about the Caribbean issue because they're concerned with foundational Black Americans, ADOS. So I understand what they're trying to do in regards to the main goal is reparations. The FBA and ADOS, they cannot say that they don't care about getting reparations. They do care about getting reparations from America. That was their main push. My main push is, to not necessarily worry about getting a check, which we all, as Black people, like a check. We all like free money. But at the end of the day, what's more important, or the most important thing to me is connecting Black people to find out who they really are. And by finding out who you really are, then you can do all things in accordance to who you really are. And if you look at the Bible tells you your past, your present, and your future. So we can call this destiny. We can call this biblical destiny. We can call it biblical prophecy. But the Bible would not exist if it weren't for the Israelites, for the Bantu people. So our past, the reason why we went through slavery, the reason why we're oppressed in Africa, in America, in the Caribbean, the reason why we're still in this limbo space of trying to liberate ourselves from our oppressors, the reason why that we cannot seem to unite and rise up, because our rise means their fall, is simply because we still don't understand who we are, and because we don't understand who we are, we can't not put the pieces of the puzzle together to start to do the action that the Bible says we're supposed to do to actually get to the top and unify. All this is in the Bible, but we tend to reject these things, over the years with certain things such as the Black Lives Matter movement, the FBA movement, the ADOS movement. They don't want it. They don't care about the Bible. They don't care about are you descendants of Jacob or the Israelites. That is not their concern. The Black Lives Matter movement, they don't care about this Hebrew Israelite talk. They're more concerned with issues at hand in America. So they're more about Black businesses, establishing Black dominance and empowerment in America, which is kind of like when you see Booker T. Washington and W.E. Du Bois fighting against Marcus Garvey. Marcus Garvey said, we need to get out of here. And the others were like, well, we need to stay here and get equality and rights and education and jobs, and we can vote and all this other stuff and do this in America. But Marcus Garvey, he said, no, we need to separate. We need to go back to our land. Africa is for Africans abroad and right here. And this is the kind of divide and conquer and the confusion that they cause amongst Black people when we have strong leaders, but we're not all together thinking on the same page. So just like you have the Nation of Islam, you have the Christian Church, you have the Hebrew Israelites, you have the FBA, you have the ADOS, you have the Black Lives Matter movement. We're all going towards different goals. And this is why we're still not really having any power when it comes down to the other nations. The other nations really don't, at the end of the day, they could care less if we keep crying year after year after year, month after month about reparations. They could care less. As long as we keep doing what we're doing and they keep staying at the top, they're fine. Because all we do at the end of the day in America is we just complain and talk, and we don't put no action behind anything. So, but one of the things that I like to tell people, those that are in certain rooms, and I challenge them. I say, well, what is a $500,000 check? What is a $200 or $100,000 check for every Black American or every household? What is that going to do for Black people when at the end of the day we don't run America? We don't control the politics. We don't control the judicial system. We don't make the laws. We don't own the businesses. We don't control the money. We don't control the internet. We don't control anything. We don't have our own country, our own state, our own country. We're not sovereign. We don't have our own army. So what is that going to do? When you get the money, where is it going to go? Because at the end of the day, we're all paying bills and paying for things with the other nations. So all we're going to do is insert that money into the other nation's hands. Nothing's going to change. Because in our communities, we see who owns all the businesses in Detroit. It's the Arabs, it's the Jews, it's the East Indians, it's the Asians, it's all the other nations. So it's a no-brainer. And if you use critical thinking and logic, it don't matter if you're in the inner city of Chicago or Detroit or Atlanta or Miami or Little Haiti or Chicago or Compton or Oakland, or if you live in the suburbs. When we get a check, 25,000, 10,000, 100,000, 50,000, we're still going to insert it into the economy in the hands of the other nations, and they're going to continue to rule over us. So my message is not only the Israelite message and our identity, is for us to return back to Africa, because at the end of the day, the most threatening thing to America is for us to unify, to know who we are, and for us to return back to the continent and unite with our brothers and sisters over here and start to rise to the top. They know this is the prophecy. It's in the Bible. They know the Bible very well, and they don't want these things to start connecting the dots. And this is why the Hebrews to Negroes message is the number one enemy in America, the West, Europe, and even Africa. They understand the power of us understanding who we are, us unifying, and us coming back to Africa and rising to the top. Because once we take back control and power, then they're going to fall. Because you can't have an oppressed people. So you got to have an oppressed and an oppressor. So the oppressed and oppressor can't be at the top together. Somebody has to be, on the opposite side. So they understand when the oppressed starts to wake up and starts to take back the power that they have, and then they don't know they have, then the shift starts to happen. The paradigm shift starts to happen, and they start to lose their power, which they don't want. And one of the things that I'm going to say, when I was in the medical field, or United States military, former ex-forces in the Marines, he said that he had done tours in Djibouti and Kenya and other areas, Mali and Niger. And he said that the other nations, he said back when he started military, he said when he came to East Africa, of course he's seen British letters and language, but he said now I see the Chinese language, and the Chinese and these other nations, including Russia and India, and France and Germany and Britain, and the Netherlands and the Dutch, they're all Portuguese, they're all here. And he says, when Africa takes back the power that it has and takes control of the resources and they start to unify, he said, you know what's going to happen? I said, what? He said, war. I said, war upon who? He said, the people that have all these minerals and resources that these other nations are taking. He said, right now, they're just coming and taking like it's a shopping spree, and nobody's, charging them because of a shopping spree. You get your basket and you got a whole hour to go through the whole store and get everything you can, and you leave. But he said that once the black people in sub-Saharan Africa wake up, and if they stop this manipulation, exploitation of Africa, he said the other nations are not going to like that. And he said that's going to be an act of military aggression towards the people that are in sub-Saharan Africa. And I said, that's interesting. And he says, yeah, he said it's true. He said that the West and these other nations are not going to let Africa take control. And say, for instance, they said, you know what, we don't want to deal with you guys no more. We're going to handle it from here. We're taking it from here. We don't need you anymore. Just go somewhere. We're going to cash you out. Just go back to your own countries. The other nations are not going to be happy with that. And we see around the world what happens when you say no to the United States. If you say no to the United States, like Gaddafi or Saddam Hussein or certain things, you see certain things start happening. And, we have to understand that it's a deeper thing happening around the world. Aside from the Ukraine-Russia war, aside from the Taiwan, China-Russia, the dollar collapse, Bitcoin, central bank digital currencies, biometrics, is there another pandemic coming? There's more pressing issues at hand. It's just that we can't see it because we're being blinded by the smoke screens and the mirrors. The number one focus that I think that the other nations have is how are they going to keep Africa the way it is, and how do we make sure that they do not wake up? And from the Kyrie Irving tweet, that caused in my opinion, a heart attack to the people of America. Those in control, the elite, and of course the people that were upset with the Jewish community. And we all know the Jewish community, they have power in America. Nobody can say that they don't have no power, no influence in many of the different sectors in America. If that was the case, we wouldn't see the things that happened to Kyrie Irving and Kanye West and other celebrities that simply tweet Free Palestine, or they tweet certain things and now they have to apologize. So when you look at the apologetic factor of Black Americans, from Nick Cannon to Whoopi Goldberg to Kyrie Irving to Kanye West to LeBron James to Dwight Howard to Rihanna to all these different people, Nick Cannon, if I didn't say his name, everybody has to apologize. Everybody, they just have to fall in line, because at the end of the day, the only reason why we apologize is because somebody is cutting our checks. Somebody is controlling our money. People that don't apologize are their own boss. When you're your own boss, say for instance Floyd Mayweather, I don't really see him apologizing to anybody. But when you are your own boss and you are in control of your own destiny and your own money, then you can say what you want. You can say what you want and have freedom of expression and freedom of speech, and not have to worry about do I have to apologize after I just said something as a grown man with a thinking brain, and I say something, and now I have to apologize in front of the whole world and my kids for something that I said. And so we have to look at these things and ask ourselves, what's really going on here, where people are scared to speak truth? Because at the end of the day, all Kyrie Irving did was tweeted. He tweeted. He didn't say anything. He didn't say not a word. He just tweeted. Press the button, tweet. And that tweet to my movie was enough to cause the news to not cover anything else. That's all they covered was Kyrie Irving. It don't matter if it was a sports channel, it was mainstream news, CNN, Fox 2 News, the Washington Post, the New Yorker, the New York Times, Rolling Stones, all these platforms, were all talking about it. We didn't hear anything else about any other news because that's all they focus on in America. We have to ask ourselves, well, we are thinking grown adults. If somebody wants to watch a movie and determine if they believe in it, or they don't believe it, if it's good or it's garbage, then let them see the movie. Let them come up with their own opinion of what they believe of the movie. But don't tell people we're trying to ban Hebrews to Negroes, the movie and the book, from America completely, because they did ban the books from Barnes & Nobles, Target, Walmart, and other book selling digital and physical platforms in America. The only platform that people can still buy the movie Hebrews to Negroes, stream it, they can buy the books, is on Amazon. This is why they're so furious, because once they remove it off of Amazon, then you won't be able to find it nowhere in America unless you go to my site. And this is a problem because we see that Hitler's book Mein Kampf is on Amazon. There's a book by a Rabbi Ramban, Moses Maimonides. He's a famous Jewish rabbi, a sage. And in his book, he compares black people to monkeys. It's on Amazon. The book, The Negro Project by Margaret Sanger, she calls black people feeble-mindedness people and people that are undesirable, people that don't deserve to live. We need to eradicate them. We need to make them extinct. These are eugenics types of talks. Margaret Sanger's book called The Negro Project, it's on Amazon. So there's a lot of books that are anti-black that are still on Amazon. Black people don't petition. Black people don't cry out and say we need to remove these books from Amazon. We need to remove, and the Jews are not saying take down Mein Kampf and other books that are anti-Semitic, but the Jews focus and America's focus, because they're also teaming up with the FBI and other Jewish organizations and calling out people to ban this book and movie. And you gotta ask yourself, well, why is this movie such a big deal? Like, if it's such a big deal, then maybe we need to see the movie and the book before they take it down. Because the title of the book is Hebrews to Negroes, Wake Up, Black America. So maybe they don't want Black America to wake up, because that's the subtitle of the book. So we have to look at these things, and it's funny because during the time that Kyrie had did his thing and was going through the aftermath, a lot of people were saying, can somebody help me? What is the name of the book in the movie? Because on the radio and on TV, they will say that book, that film, that book in 2015, movie based off a book 2018 by an author. They never said my name. A lot of times they never said the name of the book. And people were like, to this day, they say, yeah, Kyrie Irving posted a link to some movie about the Jews. I said, what's the name of the book, the movie and the book? Black people say, well, man, I don't know. I really don't know, but I know it was about the Jews. And you can ask any random person. If they really did their due diligence and paid attention, maybe scroll down on the internet, they might see the word Hebrews to Negroes. But on live TV, all the reporters, they did not say the name Hebrews to Negroes Wake Up Black America, because they understand that once people hear that, it's going to register in their brain, and they're going to go to the internet and they're going to start typing. You see, making black people do too many steps by saying, well, what's the name of that book and movie, honey? I don't know, they didn't say it. Oh, okay, well, Power's about to come on, or, some about to come on tonight. Let's just get ready to watch the movie and order some pizza or whatever. So people don't like to go through extra steps to find something that has truth in it, and they knew that we are so dumbed down in America that by not revealing the name of the movie and the book on live TV, was just going to be another way they can kind of silence people going to find the movie and the book. And by getting Kyrie to apologize quickly and get him back in the NBA, then they could focus on moving to other regularly programmed news, because they want black people to stay programmed. And the only way to keep them off of waking up is to get Kyrie to apologize quickly, stop the bleeding, stop the water main break, and to now say, well, he apologized, he did the sensitivity training, he paid the money, he sat down with the rabbis, he apologized again, blah, blah, blah. Now we got him back in the NBA, we traded him to Dallas Mavericks. Now let's talk about something else. So they love to do these things because they like to keep us distracted and preoccupied with the daily cares of life in media and entertainment.
Does the black community in America understand or know how far their dollars can go here in the continent?
Yes or no. I try to tell people all the time that, look, the American dollar right now has a lot of power and value to it overseas. It's the world's reserve currency. And all you got to do is simply, do a currency converter, and you can see what your money's worth in other countries. But the thing is, they don't feel the need to invest in Africa because they think that Africa is a jungle. They feel like everybody is climbing on trees and swinging and, walking around with the animals, living in bushes. So they don't come to Africa for themselves and see what's going on in Ghana or going on in South Africa, Johannesburg, Durban, Cape Town. They don't see all the opportunities that they can use their money to invest in Africa and actually have something that they can pass down to their kids. They can actually start a business. They can actually get land. They can build houses for themselves or for others. There's so much things that they can get into and have an advantage because of the American dollar, but they don't see that. And it's sad because coming here to South Africa last year, the airplane was probably 95% white. And on the plane, the white people were asking me and my wife, oh, well, where are you from? Are you from South Africa? And we said, no, we're from America. Oh, why South Africa? Why would you want to come here? And I said, well, why are you here? Why are you on the plane going to South Africa? Oh, I used to live here 5 to 10 years ago. My daughter's getting married, and I'm coming for the wedding. It's a beautiful place. I said, but then you used to ask me, why am I coming here? And I said, well, we're African American. Look at her, look at me. I said, the people that's on the continent look more like us than you. And I said, I told the lady, I said, where's your ancestors from? And she said, well, I'm South African. I said, no. I said, 1,000 years ago, where are your ancestors living in? And she said, Europe. I said, where in Europe? She said, the Netherlands. And I said, okay, and I asked her, what is the mother tongue of the Netherlands or Germany or France or Luxembourg? What is your mother tongue? Dutch, French, German. These are these are European Germanic languages. So your ancestry goes back to the Germanic people. You know, the people in Africa, their mother tongue is not the Germanic Romance or Germanic languages or Romance languages. So, you know, I had to give her a history lesson. And usually when I talk to people and I give them a history lesson, they get quiet, because at the end of the day, knowledge is power. If we don't have knowledge, then we don't have power. You know, when people, you know, in Chinatown, or people, when people are selling rugs, and you see the surname Patel or Gupta, and I say, well, you know what? I said, man, I got a lot of Indian friends that had the surname Patel and Gupta. I said, are you from India? No, I'm South African. I said, well, wait a minute, hold on. I said, you look just like the people that I know that are Indian, and they speak the Indian dialect, and they're from India. No, I'm South African. And I said, well, am I South African? She says, no, you look American. I said, so my ancestors are not from Africa? Well, do you speak the language? I said, no, but that's because of slavery. And she says, but I'm South African. And I said, okay, well, if you go back 1,000 years, I said, where's your ancestors from? And she got quiet. And I said, India, right? And she just kind of walked away. And I said, but I'm telling the truth. And she was like, no, I'm South African. And I said, you know what? But at the end of the day, I said that a lot of times when African Americans come here, we see everything that we can get into in Africa. We see that they lie to it. The narrative that they have taught us in America, in movies, in TV, they lie to us. When we come to Africa, we see these things. But then when we leave, we go back to America, and we get all caught up in the things of America, and we say, oh, no, there's no reason to leave America. We got Netflix, we got the internet, we got Amazon and Voodoo and Stars and Showtime, and we got all, you know, we can go shopping on Amazon and Fashion Nova, and we got the movie theaters and the restaurants, and we got the basketball games and the media. So they're more comfortable being what I call on Master's plantation, because at the end of the day, we're still on the plantation. Anybody can look at the news. They can see George Floyd. They can see people. Recently, a black guy, he spit on a cop. He got 70 years in jail. 70 years in jail, a young black guy. His life was gone, all because he spat on a cop. He spit on a cop. And I said, this is not freedom. I said, we're still on the plantation. They're still punishing us. If this was, 100 years ago or more, he would be lynched. They would have got a noose around his neck and hung him on a tree, and all the white people have been looking. Because how dare you spit on a white person? How dare you talk back to a white person? How dare you try to talk to a woman that's not black? So these are the things that, although we're not physically in chain and, slavery's been abolished, we're still on the plantation. And a lot of black people in America can't see that. And they need to, while the dollar hasn't collapsed yet, they need to start taking trips to Africa and investing in Africa, trying to see how they can get permanent visas, residency permits, and citizenship in the countries that are now promoting it, because America, nobody can say America is on the increase. It's on the up and up. It's going to get better. It's never going to fall. It's never going to get worse. Our situation in America is going to change. Black people do not say that our situation in America is going to change. They know the situation in America is still grim. It's never going to change. It's actually gotten worse, including the economy. So if things are getting worse in America, and you have an opportunity to get a passport and to take your money out your bank or out your savings and go to Africa and visit, then now is the time to do so. And I think that the West and the other nations are trying to keep this imagery that, you don't want to go to South Africa. It's not safe there. They got the load shedding. They got xenophobia. There's jackings and kidnappings, and don't go to the Congo. Don't go here. Don't go there. It's so many things going on right now. Meanwhile, while I'm here, I see all nations: the Chinese, Pakistani, Indians, Arabs, Jews. I saw some guys, and I said, "Where you guys from?" They said Egypt. Then I was at Saint Thomas on the lower floor, and I seen like 10 Mexicans. I said, where you guys from? I said they were speaking Spanish. I said Mexico. I said what? And so all these other nations are coming here to South Africa, and we're steady in America. And when we decide to go to Africa and tell our families we're going to Africa, They say, what? Be safe. So they start crying. They literally, when I told my family, my mom and dad, I was going to Africa and I was leaving and trying to resettle in Africa, they started crying like it was a funeral. Like I'm dead. Like we're all dead to the world. And I said, Mom, I said you could fly to Hawaii. It takes 11 hours, right? Yeah. Well, it takes 11 hours to fly to Ghana. If you want to come see us, just get on the plane. And they're like, well, it's different than that. No, it's not different than that. It's the same amount of time it takes to get to Hawaii as it takes to get to Africa. Matter of fact, if you fly to New Zealand, it's 24 hours. You can fly to Abu Dhabi, you can fly to France, you can fly to everywhere in the world, but you don't want to fly to Africa. It's a problem that we have to change. And now people are starting to see now, with more and more people vlogging about Africa. They're starting to see like, Africa is on the up and up. We need to reconnect back to our roots. And because of DNA testing and YouTube and TikTok and what's going on in America, some black people are starting to see the light, and they're starting to now want to come to Africa, visit, relocate. But there are those like the FBA and the ADOS. They're still stuck on, we're staying here until we get our money. We're staying here. We don't care. Until they give us our 40 acres a mule or $1 million, we are standing here and we're going to fight America to the end to get our money. And, I told people, just go keep on doing what you do. At the end of the day, I'm moving on this direction. And there are some people that are following the Hebrews to Negroes message in addition to getting out of America.
Have you been enjoying South Africa?
For sure, definitely. I lived in Michigan and the Detroit metropolitan area for all my life, basically, and it's all you see is oppression. All you see is hopelessness and no real chances for opportunity. In the city, when you go out to the suburbs, all the seats are taken at the top, and the violence, the drug use, the alcoholism, the mental disorders, the suicide, depression, anxiety, the health diseases, so many things that are going on in the black community. And it's only going to continue. And I tell people, this America was designed to trap us here. It's like a prison. And if they can get you into prison, it's even harder to escape America. And this is by design, not for people that's in America, but mainly for black people. And I said we have to break free of this system, especially to break free of the 9-to-5 slave jobs. And you get paid every 2 weeks, once a month, nothing more, nothing less, no overtime. This is what you got to live on. Meanwhile, the prices of everything is rising. The bills are rising. All these things are happening. And God forbid, the dollar starts to decline in value with the dollar dumping and the crash of the dollar. Then people are going to see hyperinflation in America. And a lot of people don't understand what hyperinflation is in America. They can look at Venezuela and other countries that had the collapse of their dollar and see what really happens when hyperinflation hits a country. And it ain't pretty. And black people in America are not in the best position when hyperinflation hits, because we can't own any land in America because of the property tax law. We can't own our own house because you can lose it to property taxes and unpaid water bills. We don't control anything in America. And we actually, if you can't provide food, water, and shelter for your people, then you lack the 3 basic things of survival. Because at the end of the day, we all need a house, a roof over our head. We need to have water to drink, which in America is municipal water. You pay the government and the state. And then you look at shelter. Shelter in America, black people don't the percentage of black farmers in America is like 1%. It's declining over the years. So if 1% of the farmers of America are black farmers, and black people are 45 million people strong in America, how can 1% of black farmers feed 45 million black people in the advent that they can't afford the food at the grocery store? How can a small group of black farmers feed black America when most black Americans are dependent on having money, and their money is enough to go to the grocery store and afford the groceries? So when hyperinflation hits, they're not going to be able to afford groceries.
And I want you to, sorry to come in there, I want you to give them an understanding of the type of lifestyle you've been living in South Africa over the past couple of months. And I want you, and that's why I asked you my previous question, like, how have you been enjoying South Africa? Because, and I say these things all the time, even when I visit some of my friends in the US, African American community, I always say to them, do you know, I ask them, like, how much is your home? Like, I own my home is $1 million. I've got a mortgage. I service. I'm like, not even $1 million. I'm like, with just $500,000, do you know that in South Africa you can get 2 mansions, if not more? You can start a business, and you can even buy 2 or 3 German cars at an affluent suburb in Sandton, in South Africa. I want you to break it down so they get a bit of an understanding, the roads here, the infrastructure, and just the type of life that you've been living in South Africa. Give them an idea of how far their dollar can go. And, for me, it's a beautiful thing that people like you come and experience it. And now we've got the internet to show the world and share with the world. I think what a lot of the African American community can contribute if they bring their dollars here in this continent.
Yeah, so in America, I stayed in an Airbnb in Orlando, and it was a nice Airbnb. It's like 4 bedrooms, had a pool, and it didn't really have a front yard, but it was in a community. And I asked the Airbnb owner, I think it was from Colombia, I said, how much did this house cost you? He said almost $1 million. And I said, I'm renting a house in South Africa, and I'm paying $2,000 a month, and it's bigger than this house. It's actually like a mansion. In America, it would be considered a mansion. And he was like, really? And I said, yeah. And so, you can rent an apartment, like an apartment here. Say like you pay about $1,000 here to rent an apartment. In America, you're not going to get that type of apartment. You might be in the bad areas of New York City paying $1,000 a month, and you got a 1-bedroom or a studio, and you don't hardly have anything. And this is in Detroit, Chicago. The homes, the apartments, the condos, the amount of money it costs to buy land or to build a house or to buy a house is a whole lot cheaper in Africa because of the dollar strength. And if people are getting mortgages for $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, $1 million, and I'm like, it's insane. It's 30-year mortgage with interest, and you're paying all this money for this house. When you can go to Africa and you can get multiple houses, you can get some cars. Like I went to a couple of dealerships, used car dealerships, and they had Audis and BMWs and Benzes, Range Rovers, and I said, how much does this car cost? And they told me the cost, and I did the calculations. I said, what? I said, this is a steal. This is a steal. I said, I mean, let me get 1 or 2 of these, because $5,000, $10,000 is not going to get you much in America. Definitely, it's not going to get you a luxury car. You might be able to get like a Ford or a Toyota or a basic economy car. But here, because of the dollar strength, you can actually get you an Audi, you can get you a Benz, a BMW, a Range Rover. You can get you a lot of things, and it doesn't have to be brand new. It could be pre-owned, a couple years old, clean cars. And the infrastructure in Africa is not what people may always think. Yes, there's some areas that you got some dirt roads, but overall, people are under the impression that there's no traffic lights or robots. They're under the impression that there's no roads. They're under the impression that there's no buildings and no restaurants or modern houses. Everybody thinks that you're going to be living in a small hut, like you're in the rainforest. And that's not.
There's gonna be monkeys, boom boom.
Yeah, monkeys and lions running around, And I haven't seen any monkeys and lions since I've been here. So I didn't go to the safari, but yeah. So it's a lot of this propaganda and illusions. Like a magician that they have upon our people in America that doesn't allow us to see that if you come to Africa, you will actually come here and you'll start to feel more free. Being in Africa, I feel free. When I'm in the car, and I hear, I really don't hear a lot of the police sirens like we did in America. But even when you hear the police sirens, they're not coming for you. They're not coming to pull you over and then have you get out the car, search you, and then they get scared and they shoot you, like in America. They're not trying to put you in jail for life. If you just come here, you live, you be respectful, you follow the laws, you do conduct business. Nobody's going to, racially profile you because you're black. And that's something that we don't have the luxury of having in America. And that is a huge bonus for black people in America, especially black parents that have sons and daughters that in America, they have to worry about. You have to worry about, is my son one day going to be with some friends and be at the wrong place in the wrong time and get pulled over, and then he may not come home because he's shot.
So now let's go to the movie. You've got about 4 movies. I've got about 3. I'm putting out my 4th book in a few months, in about 3-4 months or so. You've got books as well. You do seminars, you educate, you share content out there. For anybody who has not watched any of your movies and your books, what is Hebrews to Negroes about, the first movie? Wake Up Black America.
The first movie uncovers the lies that we've been taught in the Christian church. So I touch on the foundation of how they were able to deceive us and trick us. Of course, before slavery happened and real colonization, these countries, they sent the missionaries. Like King Leopold, they sent the missionaries. And King Leopold, Belgium, he gave them instructions. He said, the people here already know about God. They serve the Creator. They have laws. He said, but you need to go in there and you need to teach them the Beatitudes. Obey your masters for your rewards in heaven. If you are suffering, if you are impoverished, if you are going through hell on earth, don't worry, because your space in the kingdom is going to be waiting for you when you die. So it promotes that your suffering, your oppression, your struggle, your death, your inhumane treatment, the serving of a master. Like, why I gotta serve this guy, this white guy? Why are we picking cotton? Why are we collecting rubber? Why are we, chopping sugar cane? Why are we serving this guy? The missionaries say it's all in the Bible. You do this now. You serve your master with obedience, and when you die, you'll be in the kingdom, in heaven, in paradise. So the missionaries told the people in Africa these things. They gave them the Bible. It said that Jesus is white. And so in the movie, I could go through all these things and then I break down the table of nations, the 3 sons of Noah, Ham, Shem, from where we get the word Shemitic or Semitic, and Japheth. And I proved to the people that watch the movie that we are not the progenitors or the descendants of the Hamites or the ancient Egyptians or the Cushites or the Canaanites or the Puttites. And if we're not the founding fathers or progenitors of the ancient Egyptians and the ancient Canaanites and the ancient Cushites and the ancient Puttites, then we have to be something else. So are we descendants of Shem and Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, or Ishmael, or are we descendants of Japheth? And Japheth, of course, is in the north, in Europe, in Asia. And so then the question remains, well, how can we prove that we are connected to Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and the 12 tribes of Israel? And using genetics, using linguistics, using anthropology, which is the study of culture, using the study of archaeology, using ancient history from other nations, historical maps, ancient books, and more, we can prove, or I prove in the movie, that the Bantu Niger-Congo people are connected to the ancient Israelites that left out with Moses and during the Exodus, and now they are here in sub-Saharan Africa. And of course, that leaves the question to, okay, if we are the true Israelites of the Bible, the chosen people of God, the Most High, Sonini Nanini and Nakulu Nakulu, if I don't pronounce it right, forgive me, but then who are the people today that the world knows as Jews in Israel? Because in our Bibles and in Sunday school and in church, in African American Caribbean, we say white Jesus. And they say Jesus was a Jew. And Jesus is white, the Jews are white. So wait a minute, you're telling me that we're the real Israelites, but then who are they? And if they started out as black, because we are the original, then how did they turn white? When did they turn white? And these are the answers that I give in the second movie, which basically breaks down the true identity of the white Arabs that are in North Africa, the Middle East, the Levant, and also in Europe, and then also the true identity and origin and ethnicity of the white Jews, the Ashkenazi, the Sephardic, and the Mizrahi. Because at the end of the day, we can have a religion. We could be classified under a race. A race, the black race, is just describing one's phenotype, their outward characteristics, their hair, their cheekbones, their lips, their nose, their skin tones. That's a phenotype. So when you look at that, people will classify you into the black race, the white race, the Mongoloid race, or Asian race. But when you look at religion, a black person can follow Talmudic Judaism. A black person can follow Islam. Does that mean he's an Arab? No. A Chinese person can follow Islam. Does that mean that he is an Arab? He's a descendant of Ishmael? No. We have to understand that black people that follow Christianity, is Christianity an ethnicity? Is it a lineage? Is it our origin or our identity? No. There was no man in the Bible named Christian. They had children called Christians. And when we are in the Christian church and we say that we are the Gentiles, and that the Apostle Paul says that the Gentiles can be saved, therefore you black people, you are Gentiles, you can be saved through the blood of Jesus Christ. Well, if you say, well, Pastor, was there a man in the Bible named Gentile that had children called Gentiles? He's going to say no. Pastor, was there a man in the Bible named Africa that had children called Africans? He's going to say no. Well, then who are we? And so these are questions, but I like to break down the facts. So when I talk about the white Jews, I say that they are the ethnicity and lineage of Noah's oldest son, Japheth, or Yefet. They are of the white race, and they practice the religion called Judaism, or Talmudic Judaism. This is who they are. And I say this in all social media spaces and platforms. If they say, well, who are we? If we're not the real Jews, then who are we? I say, you are of the ethnicity and lineage of Noah's son, Japheth, in Genesis chapter 10. Read it. It's in the Talmud. It's in the Tanakh. It's in the Torah. They all know the Torah. It's in Genesis chapter 10, the first book of the Bible. So you're the ethnicity lineage of Noah's oldest son, Japheth. You follow the religion called Judaism, and you are the white race. Black people, or Bantu people, Niger-Congo, we are of the ethnicity lineage of Jacob that was renamed Israel, the Israelites, the 12 tribes of Israel. We are the black race, and we don't follow a religion. Really, religion is man-made, but today many black people or Bantu people or Israelites, they follow Christianity, Islam, or they might choose to follow Talmudic Judaism or Buddhism or atheism. So at the end of the day, we can follow any religion because people do that all the time. But at the core root of our ethnicity and our lineage, that goes back to a progenitor, a forefather, a man. And our ethnicity is tied to the Israelites. Therefore, our traditions and customs are tied to our ethnicity and our lineage. And that is the same type of traditions and customs that are in the Bible. And I tell people all the time, I say, look, in the Christian church, you can identify as Christian. If you're not a Christian, you can say, I'm an atheist. If you don't identify with these things and you say, my identity is the LGBTQ. Some people say that. I brought the movie to Grambling University, a black college. And a lot of the young kids there, they don't necessarily have an identity. Some people identify with African American, the LGBT community. I'm a Christian. I'm a Muslim. So these are the answers how people describe who they identify with. And I like to keep things factual, and that's the reason why I say that. Can a Chinese man follow Judaism? Yes, he can. Can a Chinese man learn how to speak Hebrew? Yes, he can. Can a Chinese man learn how to speak Igbo? Yes, he can. But does that make him an Igbo man or Igbo person? No. Can a Chinese or East Indian or an Afrikaans learn how to speak Zulu? Yes, they can. But does that make them a descendant of the Zulu people? No. But at the end of the day, whether we're Zulu, Xhosa, Pedi, Swana, Sotho, Songa, or Igbo, Yoruba, Mandinka, or Kikongo, or Shaluba, or Kikuyu, or any of these Bantu, Niger-Congo tribes, at the end of the day, our ancestor is Jacob, who was renamed Israel.
It's a beautiful, beautiful introduction to meeting you. I've got so many questions. I know we don't have enough time, but I think a beautiful thing is that the next interview we're going to have, and I'm glad that you're here for quite some time, I'm going to get our own scholars. I'm going to get some of our own African historians. I do, host from time to time a lot of elderly people with that type of wisdom on the platform. It'll be a beautiful one then to make it a conversation that is open for debate with our own African scholars as well. Mm-hmm. And I also have got my own other questions. So I just want to appreciate you for coming in and visiting our platform. No, I also do know that a lot of people who might be watching this, might have some questions like, are you doing any lectures? Are there any dates where we can come and have our own questions answered, where we can see you in person and engage? Because I can then promise them to say, we will have another episode, guys, with the likes of Abu Bishop Joshua Maponga, Abu Mkhulu Nsingiza, and other scholars as well, even from the Christianity side, to come and have this bigger and deeper conversation and ask more questions. And we'll probably even make it 3 hours. But in terms of a physical event where we can come and see you, any dates?
So after the movie premiere on May the 20th or the 20th of May at the Monte Casino, in June, we're planning on working with some brothers from the Congo that are here and doing a conference in Soweto. And, I don't know if it's going to be a 2-day conference, but we're going to have myself and others speak there. And we're looking for the venue, or they're looking for the venue right now as we speak in Soweto. So in June, the next month, we're planning on having an outside, not literally outside, but another way that people can come together and listen to what we had to say, engage with the panel, and then we engage with the audience. People can ask questions, do some teaching, and just keep the dialogue, keep the talk, the discussion going after the movie has been shown at the Monte Casino. So I got a short window of time before I have to leave and go back to America to handle some business, but I'm definitely gonna be back. But before I leave, I want to do as much as I can to keep this message going and not let it die out like they tried to do with the Kyrie incident in America.
20th of May in Monte Casino. What's the name of the venue and where do we buy the tickets?
Oh, the venue is the Monte Casino, the casino, but inside the Monte Casino, they have a theater and it's going to be in Cinema 11, which is the largest theater that they have there. Is where they have the IMAX 3D movies, and it has like a little lounge area. The doors or registration for people that bought tickets online starts at 11 o'clock. To allow people that bought tickets on CompuTicket and QuickEt to get their list, get their name checked off on the list. They can go back, they can get some popcorn food, they can mingle, and then all those that have prepaid for their tickets, once they're out the way, then those that want to buy tickets at the door, they can see what seats are left, and then the movie should start around 1, 2 o'clock. We're gonna have a performance from an African American musician, singer, and then we're gonna have a short introduction to the crowd that myself and other diasporans and some people from the Congo and South Africa are going to address the crowd to give a kind of like an introduction of why we're doing this, why we're here, what's the importance. And then after the movie, we'll have a Q&A with the crowd, with the audience, in the panel. And then when everybody disperses, then we'll of course tell them that by then we should have the date and the time, the location where we're going to have this workshop, seminar conference in Soweto. So Monte Casino Theater, the 20th of May, which is a Saturday. Everybody needs to tell the people to come out. The Bantu Israelite Connection, Wake Up Africa. The movie Hebrews to Negroes has finally hit Africa. They never thought this day would come. And like I say all the time, and no, it's not a dream, it's very real.
It will be packed because you're on this platform already. I'm looking forward to it. And what we will do is we'll put a link of the tickets on the description, guys. So as you are watching right now, go to the link in the description and then purchase the tickets. We will meet in Monte Casino on the 20th of May. You said it's morning or evening?
Morning.
South African time. So morning at...
The ticket registration is 11 o'clock in the morning. Starts the doors. We start having a table set up for people to get checked off the list, and then we'll announce when part 3 is going to be showing here. Because part 3 is called Hebrews to Negroes, Sound the Alarm, and that movie is going to be a blockbuster because not only are we continuing the discussion, but we're breaking down the secrets of the Kingdom of the Congo and how they try to keep that a secret, the Portuguese and the French and the Dutch, the Belgian people. And we're also breaking down where is the true land of Canaan, where is the true land of Israel, the land of milk and honey, the land that the Israelites would not want or lack for anything, the land that the Bible says will have everything in it, that it will have all the resources, the minerals, the livestock, the land, the rain from the heavens, the water from below, the mountains, the hills, the streams, the valleys, the lakes, the rivers, everything. Is that land in modern day Israel, or have we been deceived by the European authorization and translations of our Bible so that we look at the Bible with a colonized lens or a colonized eye and a European eye, and not with an African lens or eye, because a lot of things that they don't want us to know. It's not just about who are the true Israelites, but where is the true land of Canaan, the land that is our ancestors' homeland. So when we talk about traditional land, ancestral land, the Israelites were given the land of Canaan by God through Abraham, through Isaac and Jacob. And are the Bantu people actually standing on the true land of Canaan as the true inheritors of the land, the rightful owners of the land? And of course, the Bible says that in the last days that the other nations will seek to steal and plunder the land of the Israelites and also wage war against the Israelites. And that's called the Battle of Armageddon, or the Battle of Gog and Magog's army against the Israelites. So all this and more is going to be in part 3, which is going to be done at the end of this year. I'm going to be premiering it in America at the end of the year and then bringing it here to Africa.
Best-selling author, film director, filmmaker, producer, Mr. Ronald Dalton Jr. See you on the 20th of May, Monte Casino at 10 in the morning.
All right. See you there.
Lovely to meet you, brother.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Blessings. See you guys on the next video. Bye.